Salado, Texas, it looks like a postcard. You've got 2,400 people, a 160-year-old hotel, and an unmatched downtown experience. My name is Taylor Dash with EG Realty. In this video, we're gonna go over everything that Salado has to offer. We're gonna get into the schools, the taxes, the pros and cons, things that you should know prior to buying a property here, and then MLS data that will actually save you money if you choose to purchase a property here. Let's get into it. All right, so here is the first thing that surprises people about Salado. The village of Salado has 2,394 people, according to the last census. The schools have over 2,500 students enrolled. So how is that possible? So they carry a Salado address and feed Salado schools, but they don't carry the village tax and they sit on a septic system. So that one fact will decide your tax bill, and it's one of the most important things to consider whenever you're considering a move to Salado, Texas. All right, let's keep going. There were 268 homes that sold in Salado in the last 12 months. I pulled them all from the MLS on August 10th. So the median sales price in Salado was $498,500 and a median price per square foot of $217 per square foot. And then a median days on the market of 74. On the same day, there were 116 active listings with a median price point of $625,000. So what does that mean? The homes are closing just under $500,000 and the current median asking price is $125,000 more than that. But do not hear that as a six-figure discount that is waiting for you, because that's not what it is. So the more expensive houses, they sit on the market for longer. So that drives the median active price point up. So here is the number that actually tells you how hard you can push. All right, so on the homes that did actually close, they closed at 99% of their current list price and then 97% of their original list price. So there is some wiggle room, we'll say $15,000 on the average Salado home, but it's definitely not $125,000. And then one other number that I want to touch here is that Salado is currently carrying about 5 months of inventory, so it's pretty balanced. It's still a buyer's market in Salado, in my opinion. Most of the inventory is stacked on the higher end of the price range. All right, so here's why that is important. So 73% of homes that sold in Salado went for under their asking price. And then half of the listings on the market right now, they've already cut their price. So what does that mean? For me as a real estate agent, that means that number one, there's not as much activity going on in the market in Salado. There's not as much competition. And then number two, and more importantly, is that the sellers are pricing like it was, a year ago. They're not pricing with the current market. Whenever you price with the current market, you shouldn't have to cut the price. What does that mean? So you're not going to steal a home in Salado, but you're negotiating with somebody who's already losing the battle. They are already holding on to this property that they want to sell. Hold on to that. We are going to get deeper into that at the very end of the video. For right now, let's get to the most affordable homes in Salado. So tier one, under $400,000. So whenever I pulled the MLS data, you had 11 active listings under $400,000. The cheapest one being $250,000 for a 4-bedroom property in the Ridgewood of Salado neighborhood. So from the 268 closed listings, 51 of them were under $400,000. And that price band moves in about 2.5 months, which is the fastest moving price band in Salado. And it's also the price band that has the least amount of homes available in Salado. So if your budget is under $400,000 and you want to be in Salado, you're not searching for a home, you're waiting for one. All right, let's keep going. All right, so now tier number two, 400 to 600,000. This is the core of the Salado market. This is where the production builders live in this market. So I'm going to show you guys the map that nobody else is showing you right here. So there's currently 45 active listings in this price band and under 4 months supply. This is the price band that people think of whenever they're thinking about Salado. So then also in this price band, you have Eagle Heights. This is where we're at right now. You got Carruthers builds here, 400 to like 550,000. Really nice finishes on these properties. There's a lot of great things that we have here. You're still getting a really good
deal for what you're getting. These are nice higher end properties in this price band in Salado. You have Eagle Heights in this is the neighborhood we're in, mainly Carruthers build properties. The median price point is $475,000. This one is active here for $400,000. You're walkable to the elementary school. You're walkable to the high school. You are in the village of Salado in this neighborhood. And then the other one is Sterling Meadows. Sterling Meadows is going to be D.R. Horton. You have half-acre lots, which I see a lot of people searching for. Median price point around $466,000. And then you have Eagle Ranch, which is going to be at the higher end at around $600,000. And then the Sanctuary, which is a Castle Rock master plan community. You're going to be around the 480s in that neighborhood. And then the Woods of Salado, which that is a nice one. It's a little bit over 600, but you have a beautiful area, mature trees, custom builds throughout. It's a neighborhood that I always recommend if you're looking for something that feels special. All right, so Salado ISD carried a B rating in the 2025 state ratings, which they're up from a C rating in 2023. So they're not quite at A yet, but they are moving in the right direction. What I love about the Salado ISD is that it's a smaller school district. So there's 3 campuses. You have 1 campus for each school. So you have the elementary school, the middle school, and then the high school. So Thomas Arnold Elementary School had about 1,145 students. The middle school had just under 600. And then the high school had about 845. So the total Salado ISD school district enrollment for 2025 was 2,592. The enrollment is up by 56% since 2016. They are thinking that it's going to be up to 4,100 students by the early 2030s. All right, so now let's get into the taxes. All right, so let's take the average $500,000 property here in Salado, and we will use that for the example. For your specific tax bill, it depends on your appraised value of your property and then your exemptions. If you buy outside of the village of Salado, so you have a Salado ISD tax at 1.1669, and then you have the county tax at 0.3125. So we'll call it 1.48, and there's no city tax on that. So whenever you run the math on the property, well, your payment's going to be quite a bit lower because you have such a lower tax rate than if you were in the incorporated village, or if you bought a property in Temple or Belton. And then if you buy inside of the village of Salado, the additional tax rate is 0.4231. So in total, you're going to be at about 1.9. So that's still quite a bit lower than what you see in Bell County. So you get Temple, where your average tax rate is going to be around 2.3. And then Belton around 2.1. It does make it quite a bit of a difference. I always check the taxes. So keep it in mind, you may be able to actually pay a little bit higher price. You may be able to get into that Salado home if that's something that appeals to you at the same payment that you want to be at. Now, if you want this math run on a specific property for you, that is free. I'm linking a full Salado guide right down below. If you want it even more personalized, you can call me, you can text me. This Salado guide is going to get you set up. All right, now for the creek. All right, so let's talk about this creek. This is the whole reason that this town exists. So this is the reason that Stagecoach stopped here. It's called the Legend of Sirena. It's the mermaid statue right beside the creek. Right now, the whole town is fighting to protect it. So as of right now, there are 12 TCEQ wastewater permits that are in play around Salado Creek. So there's 5 in play, and then there's 7 that are pending. So let's say that every one of the ones that are pending gets approved. That's roughly 8 million gallons of treated wastewater per day flowing towards this creek and its watershed. So why do people care so much? Because it affects more than just one thing. It affects 3 things. One of them is that this creek sits over the Edwards Aquifer Recharge Zone. Number 2 is that this creek is actually home to the Salado salamander. This is a federally threatened species, so that puts real teeth in the fight. And then number 3 is that this is what you're gonna see on the postcard. This is what people go to for the weddings, for the events. I was here yesterday. There was kids playing all throughout the day. So this is a huge attraction for people coming to Salado, and you don't want a bunch of wastewater flowing in and around this creek. Now for the scale. So the village's own wastewater maxes out at 200,000 gallons per day. So really only covers the main street, the commercial core of Salado. Everything else outside of the village is going to be on septic. So whenever you talk about the growth that is coming to these schools, it's also coming to Salado, talking about 11,000 homes coming up in the pipeline in Salado. You need to have the capacity for that, and the capacity for that runs in or around this creek. Whenever you're thinking about the new construction here, you have to ask, where does the water go and whose permit does it depend on? Nobody knows what's going to happen yet, so we're just going to have to wait and see on that. All right, now let's get into the daily life. All right, so the daily life in Salado, Texas. The biggest thing is you're a little bit further from major things such as like hospital care. So if you need the hospital, it's about a 20-minute drive to Baylor Scott and White, and that's without traffic. They're going to be the closest healthcare facility to Salado. The other things that come with living in a small town is grocery shopping. So there's one grocery store, Brookshire Brothers. They're a small grocery store. They're staffed well, but if you want a huge shopping trip, you may have to go to Temple or Belton. That may be the closest one. I'm here there's a little food truck square. They have the best pizza in this food truck, brick oven pizzas. They have sandwiches. You got ice cream. Here is Barrow Brewing Company right here, right behind me. And then beautiful gift shops. I got to give a shout out to my favorite gift shop, 21 Main. I play the piano there at Christmas. Beautiful piano. The shop is perfectly designed, and this lady just keeps getting better. It improves every single year. If you're planning on moving to Salado, or if you're just visiting Salado, I think that shop, 21 Main, is a great one to start off at. There's chocolate. There's like a candy shop here. A lot of things. Kids will love it. You got the creek. You got a bunch of candy. Adults love it for the shopping. And they have wineries. They have breweries. Pretty much everything you could ask for. That's why I say, there's not a whole lot, but it's everything you really need or could really want. There's town about 25 minutes from you. The main gate at Fort Hood is 27 minutes. Downtown Austin is about an hour away, and you are right on I-35 in Salado. So I-35 runs right through the middle of Salado. And then one thing that I will mention is that in 2022 there was a tornado here, and it did cause quite a bit of destruction, so that's something to keep in mind. Temple also had one more recent than that. I wouldn't use that as a reason to not move, but if you definitely 100% never want to be around a tornado in your life, this area is not 100% risk free. All right, so there's 5 things that I want to talk about to kind of determine if Salado is going to be a good fit for you. Number one, and I think is the most important, is the financial side of things. So if your budget is under $400,000, you're going to spend a lot of time, and you're going to have to be very flexible on what you're willing to accept whenever it comes to purchasing a property, because the majority of the properties here are between that $400,000 to $600,000 price band. So keep that in mind. So you have the other options for a cheaper price point are going to be Temple, which is like $277, and then Belton, which comes in around $323. Number 2, and what a lot of people that I see they don't like, is a lot of the homes are on septic. So that's just something you have to keep in mind. Like we were talking about with the wastewater, with this creek right here, you have to make some sacrifices in terms of the water. You have 200,000 gallons per day. If you buy in the village, you're going to pay that extra tax, but you're not going to be on septic. Everything outside of the village of Salado is septic. Then number 3 is the HOAs. So 59% of the properties that were on the market in Salado are in HOAs. So if you like a managed neighborhood, that is great. If you don't like the HOAs, then unincorporated Salado is going to be a better choice. And then one thing that you have to remember anytime you're coming into like a smaller town is that you have only so many options as far as services go. They have one grocery store. You have really great restaurants throughout, but there's not a huge variety. The nightlife, there's not much nightlife here. You have a little bit of everything, but you don't really have a lot of anything. So always keep that in mind. I mean, if you see yourself going out every single night, or if right now you go to a bunch of different places and you go shopping, go out to restaurants. Salado may not be a great place. I personally, if it were me, I think there's everything that you need in Salado, where you can go out, you can have a variety of things. I don't like nightlife too much myself, so I'm not bothered by that, but you want to keep that in mind whenever you are looking here, because that could be a problem that comes up. And number 5 is going to be the location. So you are pretty far out here. As far as the main areas in Temple go, if you work at Baylor Scott and White, you're going to be a little bit further away from Baylor Scott and White, about 20 to 25 minutes. And then the surprising fact that a lot of people don't know until they really start driving with the commutes is actually closer to Fort Hood than Temple Belton area. So all of the commute times are going to be bam right on the screen. All right, let's keep going. All right, so is Salado, Texas worth it? So we're gonna break it down here. So you have 3 cities. You have Salado. The median price point is $498,500. Belton is $322,990, and then Temple is $266,700. So Salado is 1.8 times more expensive than Temple on paper, but it's actually a lot more honest than it seems. The median home in Salado is 2,430 square feet, and it was built in 2022. And then Temple's is 1,772, built in 2017. So you already have a newer property in Salado and a larger property in Salado. So you have to really start factoring in price per square foot at that point. And then whenever you look at the price per square foot, Salado's about 40% more expensive than Temple, not 80% more expensive. So it's important to keep that in mind. You are still paying a premium, and what does that premium get you? So what the rest kind of will buy you is a school district that is rated B and climbing, a nice downtown area, a golf course, and then a really nice creek running through that is great for families, great for, just having a peaceful day out. Really nice parks. I didn't even know this park was actually here. You got a basketball court here as well. There's so much space on this creek, so I can see why they're fighting to keep it nice. Remember the data from before. Keep that in mind. You do have negotiating room whenever you're buying in Salado. I'm putting all the data, bam, right here on the screen. If you want to get everything that Salado has to offer, I'm putting a full guide right down below. If you're relocating to Central Texas, I will personally get you a full breakdown of all of the data and everything that you need to know about moving here. You can call me, you can text me, you can email me, or you can schedule an appointment with me down below. I hope y'all enjoyed this video. Let's get it.